Hello, welcome to the lecture series on automobile engineering. In this session, let us discuss topics that come under Module 5. So, basically, in this session, let us, or in this module particularly, we discuss the process of pollutant formation in IC engines, then control of pollutant formation by controlling engine variables, then exhaust treatment technologies, and various emission standards. These are the points or topics we will discuss under this unit. Particularly in this session, let us focus on process of pollutant formation in IC engines and also control of pollutant formation by controlling engine variables. So first, let us look at pollutant formation inside engine cylinder. Just an overview. So basically, the pollutants what we talk about are oxides of nitrogen, we call it as NOx, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, and particulate emission. These are the four main things we talk about. As far as petrol engines are concerned, mainly it is NOx, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons. In diesel engine, it's mainly NOx, hydrocarbons, and particulate emission. So just see here how exactly these kind of pollutants might form. So if you see some combustion shot in the IC engine cylinder, in the flame, if the temperature is very high, oxides of nitrogen form in burn gases. Okay, there is too much of oxygen available and the temperature is very high, that though nitrogen is an inert gas, it gets oxidized and oxides of nitrogen form. You can also see there fuel itself is an hydrocarbon. Suppose in petrol it is C8H18, it's an hydrocarbon. This fuel will not completely get burned down here. So some vapors will be, fuel vapors will be there. The flame may not reach, it will quench or it will blow out. Because of that, these chemical convert into some other hydrocarbons and you'll get that hydrocarbon from lean flame blowout region. If there are certain rich region, means fuel is more, oxygen is less. In such places, enough oxygen is not available, though CO formation might take place. That's how you'll get oxides of nitrogen, hydrocarbons, and CO emission. So what I want to convey from this sketch is that there are some rich region, there are burning regions, there are blowout region, all these things happen. This become responsible for formation of such pollutants. The same a diesel engine case, if you take, you will get NO, hydrocarbon. Many other times it is oxygen rich, carbon monoxide formation is less in this case, but there are chances of soot formation, right? So particulate emissions will be there. So these are all the things that we study, how exactly these pollutants form, what are their effects on the environment, then what engine variables we can control so that we can control the formation of these pollutants. Then if not possible, like how exactly we can treat them in the exhaust pipe so that before leaving these emissions into the atmosphere. That's the kind of discussion we'll be having. So in the SI engine, if you're seen, this is what you can call it as the exhaust system of the SI engine. You have exhaust manifolds, of course, then you will have a turbocharger. Here we have the catalytic converter. Basically, if there is carbon monoxide and if there is NOx, can we, using this catalytic converter, can we absorb this carbon monoxide or NOx, or can we convert into other compounds which are not harmful and leave it to the atmosphere? That's what exactly catalytic converter will do. Basically, we are going to treat carbon monoxide and NOx here. Then that gas will flow through the resonator, okay, where we are going to do the noise reduction and all. Then finally through the exhaust tailpipe, it will leave out. So this is a very important device in exhaust gas treatment. Okay, even it is possible to burn out these hydrocarbons which are escaping through the exhaust gas. So these are all the things that we will control here. So many times we call it as a three-way catalytic converter. Probably will control CO, HC and NOx. If you come to diesel emission, the exhaust gases which are coming out, in the diesel, the PM, particulate matter, is a dominating emittent. So this particulate matter is basically trapped using particulate filter. So we make those gases pass through this filter and trap all those particulates. Then the gas which is coming out, as I said, CO is not a dominating emittent, you can say. It is basically the NOx, which, because diesel engine always burns air fuel mixture, lean air fuel mixture, so there is lot of oxygen availability, hence NOx formation is very high. So here then the gas enters into this region, we inject DEF, means diesel exhaust fluid. It's a solution which consists of 32.5% urea and 67.5% deionized water. This we call it as diesel exhaust fluid. We spray this. Correct. That will react and it will reduce NOx. So these things I will explain in very much in detail. and finally a gas free of NOx and free of particulate matter comes out. These are the extra thing that you find in diesel engine exhaust pipe. Okay, this is definitely what we have to control here, and what we have to control here different, and this exhaust pipe and this exhaust pipe designs are quite different. So please watch this video. You can understand the complete history, the pollutant formation and pollutant control very well. So please note this. On the YouTube you can play this and you can understand. Now let us go in detail. Let us talk about pollutant formation and control. That means how exactly unburnt hydrocarbons are formed, how exactly NOx is formed, then CO formation, particulate matter formation. In this order we will study. Next thing is, what are the engine variables that affect the formation of these? Okay, these pollutants. That's what we will focus now. So now the thing is, as I mentioned, the emissions of concern are unburnt hydrocarbon, carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, solid carbon. So basically these pollutants like contribute to acid rain, which is dangerous, smog formation, smoke and fog, and other respiratory and health problems. These are the things. So now the number of vehicles are increasing, the intensity is increasing. Particularly urban areas, there are too many vehicles, and the quantity of these emissions increasing enormously, so that this has become a great health hazard for the urban people. So unless these are contained, probably it is very difficult to live a healthy life. Hence, this have to be controlled. You see here, the hydrocarbon emissions, as I said, C8, HNO, whatever fuel when we burn, this vaporize, they get converted to some other hydrocarbons like benzene, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, 1,3-butadiene and 3 aldehydes like formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, acrolein. These are the kind of, it gets converted into that main fuel, gets converted to some other hydrocarbons which are hazardous to health. You get all this. In addition to that, any hydrocarbon when we burn, they emit carbon dioxide. However, we don't consider it as a pollutant, but it is a greenhouse gas responsible for global warming. Even carbon dioxide emission has to be reduced by making the engines more fuel efficient. Let me give an historical perspective. Actually, it is in the 1940s, air pollution as a problem was first recognized in Los Angeles. because there are too many vehicles and large population density, hence for the number of vehicles also very high, and even the natural weather conditions are such that which will influence the formation of smog. So people realized it is all because of the vehicular emissions. So that's why the California government in 1966 they made some laws to reduce hydrocarbon and CO emissions. Then all of North America followed California, and they started in 1968 thinking seriously about making regulations for controlling pollutions, laws as well as regulations, right? So only way is to make the engines more fuel efficient, and in addition introduce exhaust gas treatment so that the hydrocarbon, carbon monoxide, NOx emissions should be reduced, say by about 95% during 1970s and 1980s, what they were polluting at that point. That's the kind of, so it put a lot of strain. It challenged the vehicle manufacturers to improve the technologies to vehicle or engine technologies so that the emissions of these emissions, hydrocarbon, CO and NOx, should meet the specified limits. Whatever the standards they created, to meet those standards they had to develop those technologies. Of course, now we have Euro standard, Bharat standard. They have specified the limits for emission of hydrocarbon, CO and NOx and all that. Unless the vehicle manufacturer meet those requirement, then they will not be allowed to sell the vehicles. So now, because of these kind of regulations, right? So improved technologies nowadays, the automobiles have become more efficient compared to what they were in 60s and 70s. However, there are more fuel guzzlers have come, like sports utility vehicles and other things, and they are again emitting a lot, number is more, and because of the number more, even the emission is less, the total emission is remaining the same or it's increasing. So let us look at in detail about these things. First, let us talk about nitrogen oxides, or NOx we call it. That includes both nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. But in SI engine, the dominant component of NOx is nitric oxide. So it forms as a result of dissociation of molecular nitrogen and oxygen. So O plus N2, NO plus N. That's how it gets. It is temperature dependent. So you know that nitrogen is an inert gas. It forms only if the temperature is high. And moreover, there should be sufficient oxygen available. So if the temperatures, wherever the temperature is more than say 2000 K, the NO formation will happen. One of the important thing is adiabatic flame temperature of the hydrocarbon fuels. The hydrocarbon fuels adiabatic flame temperature reaches to around 3000 K. So in such situation, if the mixture is lean, oxygen availability is more, then nitrogen oxides form. So it's formed in one direction. If not in equilibrium, again NO2 again will become NO and O, like that. So dissociation happens in the reverse direction. And you see across the cylinder, if you see, the temperature inside the cylinder varies. Accordingly, the NO reaction rate also changes. So each fluid element burns to its adiabatic flame temperature, which is set around 3000 K. Based on its initial temperature, elements that burn first near the spark plug achieve a high temperature and there is NOx formation. Okay, since the chemistry is not fast enough, the actual NO concentration tends towards but never achieves the equilibrium value. So there will be a forward direction as well as in the reverse direction. Like forward, it will form NO, again it gets dissociated, decomposes. So this way, it will just, the reactions will be taking place in the forward and reverse direction till the equilibrium is achieved. Once the element temperature cools down to 2000 K, the reaction rate becomes so slow that the NO concentration effectively freezes at a value greater than the equilibrium value. So total amount of NO that appears in the exhaust is calculated by summing of the frozen mass fractions for all the fluid elements. That's the equation. So here you see here pressure versus crank angle. If this is the top dead center, highest pressure occurs somewhere here, just after around 10 to 11 degree after the top dead center. Then as the piston moves towards the bottom dead center, the pressure decreases. That's what is shown. And here the mass fraction increase are shown. The same way correspondingly temperature at these points are high. At these points are high. Correspondingly, if you can see that NOx is also high, right? These places. So this is what is shown: equilibrium concentration based on local temperature, pressure, equivalence ratio, residual fraction. Actually based on kinetics. This is calculated, this one. And this is what you can say, what you can observe, right? So when x equal to 0 and x equal to 1, that's what x equal to 0 condition, x equal to 1 condition. So you can see here that x equal to 0 condition near the spark, this is very, very high. Correct. Otherwise here all of a sudden it is increasing when x is equal to 1. Okay. So it all depends, temperature dependent. That's one thing we can say. And another thing is, as you can see here, equivalence ratio is 1 here. This side if you come, this is what you can call it as linear mixture. Say actual air fuel ratio by stoichiometric air fuel ratio, that's what we are talking about. So when you are coming here, right, that is linear mixture. So when you are linear mixture, you can see here oxygen availability is less. If the adiabatic flame temperature is high, NOx formation will happen. Okay, one would expect the peak NO concentration to coincide with the highest adiabatic flame temperature. Typically, peak NO can occur for slightly lean mixtures. Okay, slightly lean mixture, not too lean also, because again the temperature will not be high enough. So increased spark advance and intake manifold both result in higher cylinder temperature. So I taught you like what exactly is spark advancing in SI engine and all those things. So higher spark advancing, thus higher NO concentrations will happen. Now, if at all you want to reduce the NO concentration, the only idea is you have to reduce the temperature. That is a basic idea. You want to reduce, if you reduce the temperature, definitely we are not allowing nitrogen to oxidize. So if we can take out the exhaust gases, so allow residual gases, means dilution to occur. If the dilution to occur, then oxygen availability can be reduced. Correct, that's one thing. Another thing is take the exhaust gas, cool it and recirculate it so that again you can reduce the oxygen availability. Or you increase the moisture in the inlet air so that also we can reduce the temperature. So by doing this, it is possible we can reduce the NO concentration. Here it shows in CI engine, the cylinder gas temperature is governed by the load and injection timing. Correct. You can see here IDI. Okay. And direct injection, indirect injection system. Indirect injection system, you can see more NOx formation, kind of thing. And direct injection, there is less, but again it depends upon BMEP and other kind of things like that. This is for direct injection, this is for indirect injection at 18-degree crank angle, and it is 12-degree crank angle. Okay. So next, another very important thing is that is hydrocarbon. A result from the presence of unburned fuel in the engine exhaust. Already explained. Some of the exhaust hydrocarbons are not found in the fuel, but are hydrocarbons derived from the fuel whose structure was altered due to chemical reaction that did not go to completion. I would have supplied C8H18 as the fuel, but it's due to chemical reaction, it gets converted into some other, say, chemicals. So, for example, acetaldehyde, formaldehyde, butadiene, benzene, or some other taxane. This is how it gets converted, and they are toxic. So, it has been estimated around 9% of the fuel supplied to the engine is not burned during the normal combustion phase of the expansion stroke. And only 2% ends up in the exhaust. The rest is consumed during the other 3 strokes. Right? So let us see how exactly these hydrocarbons, like where. See here, where exactly these hydrocarbons form. Crevices, oil layers, deposits, liquid fuel, flame quench, exhaust valve gas leakage, all this. What it means is this way. You see here, these crevices. You have the air fuel mixture. Some of them get in here. Flame may not reach. It may not consume like this. You have some valve packets. So there's some air fuel mixture gets into it, but the flame cannot reach to that place. Or even if the flame reaches, it quenches. So this is how these are formed like. And another thing is, you see here, suppose you have lubricant layer. Over the lubricant layer, a thin layer may just get attached to it. So that may not get burnt. This is the way here in all these places. Okay, these are narrow regions in the combustion chamber into which the flame cannot propagate because it is smaller than the quenching distance. Okay, crevices are located around the piston, head gasket, spark plug, valve seats, and represent about 1 to 2% of the clearance volume. The crevice around the piston is by far the largest. During the compression, the fuel air mixture is forced into crevice and released during expansion. So other than the crevices, we have oil layers, right? And you get deposits also on valve, cylinder, piston crown. And these deposits are porous with pore size smaller than the quenching distance to so trapped fuel cannot burn. Another thing is the less volatile fuel constituents may not vaporize because it is not pure C8H18, and it has been shown that the flame does not burn completely to the internal surfaces. The flame extinguishes a smaller but finer distance from the wall. So basically flame will not be able to, wherever flame will not be able to reach and consume the charge completely because of the heat present, because of the temperature present, high temperature, this fuel gets converted into some other hydrocarbons. That's basically this what happens. And as I mentioned earlier, many hazardous chemical compounds will be formed because of this. So here mostly you can see these hydrocarbons will come out through the exhaust gases like this. So blow down. So what it means, I'll just explain this. So if it is Otto cycle, say here, the exhaust valve opens, all of a sudden, then the complete exhaust valve will be completely open and it will be pushed out. Then you can see the rush of those hydrocarbon gases. So you can very clearly see that here the exhaust valve opens and the exhaust valve closes. This is the mass flow rate and the concentration graph, hydrocarbon concentration of exhaust valve. So this is the region. So they come out through the exhaust valves. So it is necessary that we burn these hydrocarbons before letting the exhaust gases to the atmosphere. So same as mentioned in the SI engines, even here the crevice is under mixing of fuel and air, over mixing of fuel and air. These are all responsible for hydrocarbon emission in diesel engines. So a droplet comes out, you can see here it's a over mixed region, so it may not burn at all. So sometimes the fuel particle will be there, so it will start searching for the air. These are the kind of things like that, and the flame may not reach. Okay, so again the low velocity, the flame would have traveled. After that, the droplet may be coming out. So because of all such reasons, there will be hydrocarbon emissions in diesel engines. Okay, so direct injection diesel engines, naturally aspirated, you find more hydrocarbon emission compared to indirect injection engines. That's the main thing. So another important emission is particulate matter. It is basically solid carbon material or soot or condensed hydrocarbons and their partial oxidation products. So particularly diesel particulate consists of solid carbon, soot, at exhaust gas temperature below 500 degrees Celsius. So hydrocarbon compounds become absorbed on these surfaces, and again flame will not travel, quench, all these things will happen. So in SI engine, soot is not an issue. It is homogeneous premixed combustion. There will not be a problem. Here it is a heterogeneous combustion, so particulate emission will always be there. So there is something like, you look at this equation. Mixture fuel oxidizer mixture soot formation occurs when X greater than or equal to ρ or X by 2A greater than or equal to 1. This is the hydrocarbon reacting with oxygen. These are the products. Here we are talking about carbon to oxygen ratio. So it is found that critical CO ratio for onset of soot formation is between 0.5 to 0.8. So carbon oxygen ratio, right, it's 0.5. Correct. This is a higher value, this is a lower value, so between 0.5 and 0.8. So then it's not completely getting oxidized and the soot formation will take place. However, the CO, H2 and CS are subsequently oxidized in the diffusion flame to CO2, H2O via the following second stage. Any carbon not oxidized in the cylinder ends up as soot in the exhaust. Right. So there are major problems in CI engine. So when the equivalence ratio about 0.7, equivalence ratio 0.7 means to say very early you have. So if at all you want to reduce NOx, that means adiabatic flame temperature has to be reduced. But if you reduce the adiabatic flame temperature, then soot formation will increase. Thus, if you are trying to reduce NOx emission, that will lead to soot formation. That's another kind of problem that we face in this. Okay. So that is what exactly the soot versus NOx. Correct, NOx. Right? Reduce the NOx, soot will increase. Correct? Suppose increase the NOx, then soot will reduce. So this is the kind of difficulty that we face. So basically, you can say these are partial oxidation. This is all because of partial oxidation, the soot formation. Then carbon monoxide. So whenever we burn the rich mixture, then there is unavailability of sufficient oxygen that leads to carbon monoxide formation. So here you can see, if you are burning the richer mixture, carbon dioxide production is reducing or carbon monoxide is increasing. So you also get something like hydrocarbons along with that. So it is often assumed that the highest carbon monoxide emission occurs during the engine startup when the engine is fuel rich to compensate for poor fuel evaporation. Yesterday we were explaining the carburation and air fuel requirements. I have told you during idling, during startup, you have to supply rich mixture. So that is where the sufficient oxygen is not available. Then carbon monoxide emission will be high. CI engines always run lean overall, so CO emission is not a great issue there. Okay. Now the current emission standards we have, I think they have specified what should be the value of hydrocarbon, CO and NOx. So they have been reduced to 4%, 10% of the uncontrolled pre-1968 values. Now the present Euro standards 6 standard, if you take, it's much lower now. So Now the thing is, that's how then they have introduced the various types of technologies to reduce this. What are the basic methods they have adopted is engineering combustion process and advances in fuel injectors. Nowadays, that's what I explained, that in petrol engine, carburetor is completely eliminated. Then they introduced the petrol injection system. Over the years, we used to have port injection or manifold injection, then multi-point fuel injection. Now gasoline direct injection. All these types of injection systems were introduced. In diesel engines, you have common rail injection system. Then we have used lambda or oxygen sensors, and complete engine management system has been introduced. So perfectly control the air fuel ratio as per the requirement. This is the combustion side, that is engine side of it. Then also we are introduced to control the NOx and exhaust gas recirculation, spark retard. All these ideas have been introduced. Even then it is like impossible to completely control the emission of HC, CO, NOx. That's why there is after treatment devices have been introduced. That is catalytic converters in the exhaust pipe. So engineering side, they have done a lot of improvement, that is to improve the combustion process. Next, they have optimized the various parameters, engine parameters, to reduce them, and after treatment technologies also have been introduced to reduce HC, CO, and NOx emissions. So now I think you have seen why. Basically, it's very clear that NOx, because of high temperature and lean mixtures, NOx formation happens. Rich mixtures, when you burn, CO formation happens. If the combustion process flame is not traveling to all the possible places and not consuming the charge completely, then because of incomplete combustion, hydrocarbons gets generated. And also again, you can say partial oxidation of some fuel droplets or fuel particles, like you get the particulate matter. So these are the main causes. But however, one we are trying to, suppose I'm trying to make the mixture lean so that CO should not form, but it will lead to NOx. Correct. If I try to maintain high temperature, NOx will form. Correct. So NOx will form, particulate matter will reduce. If I try to reduce the particulate matter formation, NOx will increase. So there are contradicting problems are there. That's where the challenge is. So whatever is possible, those parameters are optimized up to a point. Beyond that, which is not possible to control within the combustion chamber, those things we try to control them outside the combustion chamber using treatment devices, exhaust treatment devices. Now we will talk about exhaust treatment devices in the next session. So till then, thank you very much.